agenda. Brian leaving early, perhaps we could do minutes, the non-application stuff.
Yeah, I will add that to my. How are we doing on attendance? We've got Brian. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Brian, we got good. We got John, Alyssa. Hold on. Everyone. Mark, John, Brian, Don, Jim, Alyssa. Okay, we got everyone. So if you're ready to record, Marla, I can start.
I have started recording.
Excellent. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the South Burlington Development Review Board meeting for Tuesday, October 6th. In attendance tonight is Brian Sullivan, Don Philibert, Jim Langan, John Wilking, Mark Baer, Matt Coda, which is me, and Marla Keene, our Development Review Planner, Delilah Hall, our Zoning Administrator, joining us shortly, I believe. First item on the agenda, additions, deletions, or changes in the order of agenda items. And yes, I will be moving agenda item number 8, which are the minutes from February 19th to September 1st. I'll be moving that all the way up to agenda item number 4. And item number 6, which is appeal AD 2001, will not be heard tonight because the entity that applied for a building permit has withdrawn the application. Thus, there's nothing to appeal. If you wish to comment on that particular item, that is a long drive. The time to do it will be in the public comment period, which is coming right up, where we allow people to speak on items that are not related to the agenda. Okay, announcements. I start all these GoToMeeting online meetings with an announcement, and just to let everyone know that if you wish to participate in this hearing, you should sign the virtual sign-in sheet in the chat box. Let us know what agenda items you're interested in. The other thing I'd like to mention is if you're not speaking, please put your phone or your computer on mute. The ambient sound sometimes is distracting. It's really helpful if you put it on mute. If you can't locate the chat box or on your phone, and so I don't have a chat box, you can sign in virtually by sending an email to Marla Keene, our Development Review Planner. Her email is mkeene, M-K-E-E-N-E, @sburl.com, about your contact information. And it's necessary to do this because in order to be considered a participant, should you want to obtain party status in order to appeal a decision made by this board. Now, similar to when we meet in person, you'll have an opportunity to comment on the agenda items, the public will, either over the phone, through the GoToMeeting app, in the chat box, and you can also submit comments in writing, and if you do it before we close any particular hearing, it will certainly be sent and read by all 7 members of the Development Review Board. Okay, so then we go on to agenda item number 3, which is comments and questions from the public not related to the agenda. If you have a comment or question about any of the items that are not on the agenda, you can enter it into the chat box and say your name, or say your name out loud, and I will call on you in time. So, checking the chat box and not seeing anyone who wants to speak on anything unrelated to the agenda, and not hearing anyone speak up. Give it one last chance for anyone that may have put themselves on mute. And I don't hear it. So then I'll go to agenda item number 8, which we moved in the prior as agenda item number 1, and go to the minutes. And these are the minutes from February 19th of 2019. We also have minutes from September 1st, but I'll hold 2 separate votes since the February 19th, 2019 meeting, some of us weren't there. So please, if you know who you are and you weren't there, please don't vote to approve the minutes. Okay, so I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from February 19th, 2019. Do I have a second?
Second, John.
Seconded by John, and I'll call the roll. And if you weren't there, the correct answer is what? Is abstain?
Abstain.
Yeah, okay. Brian Sullivan.
Aye.
Aye. Don Philibert.
Abstain.
Jim Langdon,
Abstain.
John Wilkie,
Aye.
Mark Bear,
Aye.
and Matt Coda, the chair, votes aye. So that minutes pass. Okay, now I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 1st, 2020. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Don. Roll call. Brian?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Matt Coda votes aye. Alyssa Portman?
Aye.
I forgot to mention Alyssa in the other one. I just assumed would also be an abstain, right, Alyssa, from the first one, because you weren't on the board
Yeah, that's correct.
in 2019. Is that right? Okay, so that's another abstention. Sorry about that, Alyssa. Okay, so now we move to agenda item number 4. Sketch plan application SD 2034 of Eastern Development Corporation for plan unit development on an existing 8.66 acre lot developed with a single family home and 7,000 square feet of storage buildings. The plan unit development consists of one 6.68 acre lot containing 36 dwelling units and 3 family buildings, a 1.3 acre lot containing the existing single family home and storage building, and a third of the lot containing proposed city streets at 600 Spear Street. Now, the applicant has requested a continuation to October 20th, 2020 for the purpose of modifying the proposed layout to better meet anticipated future land development regulations. I assume this is okay with Marla, as it's in the notes. So I would make a motion that we move sketch plan application, continue sketch plan application SD 2034 to October 20th, 2020. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Seconded by Don. Roll call. Brian?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Alyssa?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Matt, the chair, votes aye. And so we have moved sketch plan SD 2034 to October 20th. Okay, now moving on to agenda item number 5, which is continued preliminary and final plan application SD 2022 of Burlington International Airport and BTV Hotel LLC to amend a previously approved plan for an airport complex. The amendment consists of constructing a 111-room hotel near the northern end of the existing parking garage at 1200 Airport Drive. Who is here for the applicant?
Larry Mack.
I hear Larry Lackey. Who else?
Greg Rabideau from Rabideau Architects.
Greg Rabideau. Great. Good to hear you, Greg. Anyone else?
Adam Ports from SE Group, Landscape Architect.
Hello, Adam.
And Chris
Anyone else with you?
Chris Gendron from Stantec, civil
Hey,
engineer.
Chris.
I guess.
Okay, all 4 of you, this is continued preliminary and final plat. All 4 of you have sworn in previously, so you're still sworn in. And if we have 2 documents that were helpful. One is,
Matt, I want to interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
Yep. Disclosures.
yes, are there any disclosures of
So
conflict of interest
Brian
or potential conflict of interest?
Brian has indicated that he is recused from the remaining items on the agenda and has left the meeting.
Okay. So we've gone from 7 to 6. Thank you, Brian, for, and yes, okay. Thank you, Marla, for pointing that out. Anyone else have any disclosures? No. Okay. So we have 2 documents. One is in the packet, and then we have a 1-page follow-up that answers some of the questions from the packet to some degree. And I don't know if the applicant wants to go through the initial filing, or if we cut right to the chase. I'm inclined to cut right to the chase and answer the questions. I'm seeing some nodded heads here. Okay, so Burlington, the board reviewed the project on July 21st and September 15th, and the staff memo included in the October 6th packet identifies 2 outstanding topics for the board's discussion, both pertaining to compliance with MS 2001 of an overall landscaping plan and paraphrased below. So I'll just go over that, especially for those that are listening at home. MS 2001 requires the approved off-site landscaping to be installed in a specific order, with the entrance features first, and then the streetscape, then the recreation path, each proceeding from south to north. The applicant proposed to install street trees first, which is not compliant with MS 2001. Number two, the second issue. In order to use the approved off-site landscaping, MS 2001 requires the applicant to submit a detailed landscaping plan concurrently with a site plan for which the landscaping is proposed. Staff has worked with the applicant to develop a potential solution. That's what we like, potential solutions. The applicant has proposed to develop a site plan for the entrance features consistent with MS 2001, the value of which they anticipate will be greater than the required $39,600, which is not proposed to be on the hotel site. Staff considers the board may, but is not obligated to allow the site plan to proceed separately from the current application if the board includes a condition of this hotel decision that, one, the applicant must obtain approval for the entrance feature site plan prior to issuing of a zoning permit for this hotel application, and two, they may not obtain a certificate of occupancy for this hotel application without also obtaining a certificate of occupancy for the entrance feature site plan. Before discussing it with the board, those conditions, do you have any comment? Does the applicant have a comment on those conditions that the staff has proposed? Larry, Greg?
Just the airport will work diligently to get the entrance site plan, landscaping plan done as soon as possible.
Yeah,
Greg?
I'm not going to quibble if there's a workable solution on the table. I mean, it would be nice if we could tie instead of having it be at zoning permit time have it prior to occupancy, but I don't want to gum up the works.
So the second part about phasing, taking into consideration the applicant's supposition that the cost of installing the entrance features will be greater than that required to supplement this hotel's project landscaping budget, staff anticipates the entrance feature site plan will either include phasing of the entrance features or propose to construct the entire project at once and bank the excess cost to applied future projects. If phasing is requested and approved, staff considers the applicant may obtain a certificate of occupancy for this hotel at such time as the entrance feature phase representing at least $39,600 in landscaping is complete, as indicated in the receipt of the certificate of occupancy. Finally, staff considers the board should require the applicant to bond for the entrance feature site plan. So how is it going to go? How do you want it to go, Greg? Are you talking about phasing? The landscaping?
No, I think I'm going to let it. I'm going to let it stand as read. I'm sorry to even interject.
Sure.
Yeah, Matt, this is Adam from SE Group. I think we've had some really productive conversations with Marla and the city staff, and I think our team feels comfortable with the conditions presented, and we're hopeful that an approval can be found that applies these conditions, and we can continue forward.
Okay. So does the board have any question about the October 6th memo that came out from this morning for the staff or the applicant before I ask the public if they have any questions or comments? Anyone on the board?
No, it's John. I would just commend Marla and the team for doing such a nice job of coming up with a solution. So that's great.
I agree.
Yeah, I concur as well.
Okay, is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on SD 2022 1200 Airport Drive? If so, please say your name or enter your name into the chat box and just say you want to comment. Checking the chat box, give people opportunity to release the mute button. Not hearing anyone. So then I would make a motion that we close SD 2022 1200 Airport Drive preliminary and final plat application. Do I have a second?
I will
Second.
second.
Oh, well.
Ooh.
Third.
I think I heard Don. Seconded by Don. Roll call. Brian is recused. Don.
Aye.
Jim. Aye. John.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
And Matt Cotto, the chair, votes aye, 6-0-1. Thank you very much, gentlemen. This hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So much.
Thank you.
So we now move on. Item number 6, as discussed in the announcement, has been is no longer on the agenda because the person who filed the permit, it was an appeal hearing. The person who filed the permit has withdrawn his application, so there is no permit. So we move on to agenda item number 7, which is a sketch plan application SD 2033 of the Snyder Group Incorporated to amend a previously approved plan for a planned unit development on 25.93 acres consisting of 18 single-family dwellings, 10 two-family dwellings, 3 three-unit multifamily dwellings, and an existing single-family home. The amendment consists of changing the unit mix to 12 single-family dwellings, 13 two-family dwellings, and 3 three-unit multifamily dwellings, and an existing single-family home, removing connections to adjacent streets, and relocating the recreation path from off-street to on-street at 1302, 1340, and 1350 Spear Street. Who is here for the applicant?
This is Chris Snyder.
Hey, Chris.
Hi.
Anyone with you?
Matt,
Yes.
it's Dawn. I would
Hey,
like
Don.
to make a disclosure.
Okay.
So my understanding is that the law firm of Murphy, Sullivan and Cronk is representing some abutting neighbors. And I just wanted to, I'm not going to recuse myself, but I want to disclose that a partner in that firm, Liam Murphy, who I believe is on the call tonight, is a longtime good friend of mine, but I don't believe that poses any conflicts. Just wanted to get it on the table.
I appreciate that, Don. Thank you very much. Okay, Chris Snyder, is there anyone else with you?
Yeah,
Or is it just you
Liam
tonight?
Murphy is also going to be.
Liam Murphy. Okay. Anyone else?
That's it.
Okay. Before we begin, I'd like to remind the applicant, interested parties, and anyone watching at home that this is a sketch plan. What is a sketch plan? A sketch plan is a high-level review and a discussion by the Development Review Board where an applicant receives feedback from the board on major elements of a project before it is fully designed. During this meeting, the board may provide oral guidance to the applicant, which constitutes the board's determination that the application meets the purposes of the land development regulations. These comments made during a sketch plan are to help to guide the applicant to a later application that meets the requirements of South Burlington's land development regulations and contributes to the goals of the comprehensive plan. A sketch plan is not a formal hearing. It does not result in a binding decision. There is no vote and there is no swearing in of the applicant. The board may choose to continue the meeting at a later date if there are questions that remain to be examined. The future date will be announced prior to concluding the item for the evening, and upon conclusion of the sketch plan meeting, the applicant who wishes to move forward with their next project will have to submit a complete application. The next level of review includes additional public notices and a formal public hearing. Okay, so that's an explanation of what sketch plan is. If it's all right with you, Chris and Liam, I'd just like to remind everyone who's watching at home, who may be listening, in the context of this. This was a project that was, or this plot of land was a project that was approved in 2017. It was called SD 1714. The decision was appealed to the Environmental Court for matters pertaining to transferred development rights and to Halcyon Lane. The decision of the Environmental Division was appealed to the Vermont Supreme Court for matters pertaining to transferred development rights, also called TDRs. Both the Environmental Court and Supreme Court appeals are concluded, and both of the court decisions upheld the decision made by the Development Review Board. Therefore, SD 1714 stands as written. None of the issues that were the subject of the appeals are proposed in this particular application, that is application to modify that approval. As subject to the application is a new application, any proposed modifications to the approval plans are subject to current regulations. Okay, so could the applicant describe what they're proposing here?
Yep. First of all, I thank you very much for your time. I know that we have all, many of you have seen this project before you and over the number of years. And we have submitted some changes to the overall plan that addresses some concerns from neighbors. And I guess I'd like to leave it up to Liam to present some of the items that are being requested.
Go ahead, Liam. Nope. Liam, can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Liam, are you on mute?
He's not on mute. Now he's on mute. He's going in and out of mute. But he's off mute now, but I can't hear him.
So I'm gonna send Liam a message on how to call in. Just a second.
Chris, while Marla does that, which do you think would be the better plan to show while Liam has this overview? I think you're on mute now.
I think we could walk through the staff notes. There are 6 items that were presented. The first was the segment of Vale Drive north to Elm Street is proposed to being deleted. So that is the first item on the staff notes. And I'm just going to use the staff notes as a guide.
Hold on.
So
I just
you can't.
know what to show on the screen while this discussion was going on. So just hold on a second.
You're good, right there. So that is a request being made on this application. The next item is the southernmost segment of Vale Drive is to be proposed to or restricted to emergency vehicles only. And that would be a narrow street that would allow for emergency vehicles through, but not traffic through that. The third item are 2 single-family homes are proposed to be relocated from the northeast corner of the property to the west side of Vale Drive. And what that does is eliminates 2 single-family homes and makes them, adds them and creates 2 duplexes on the west side of the Vale Drive. The fourth item is the shared.
Is it possible, Chris? I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt. Is it possible to see the map so we can see the streets and the houses?
Sure.
Delilah, is that possible? Thanks.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Great.
So
That just helps me
go back to
visualize it
number
while you're
1
talking
if you
about
want me to, Matt. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
So we're talking about Vale Drive north of Elm Street proposed to be deleted. Can we just zero in on that?
Okay, I'm sorry. That's the description is over north of Vale Drive. It would be if the red arrow goes north or red dot goes no. There you go. It eliminates the connection to the Spear Street property to the north. There was a proposed road connection to the UVM property, and so that would eliminate that road connection. So what you're looking at is what we're requesting for the modification.
Okay, so that would be deleted. Okay, number 2, the southernmost segment of Vale Drive proposed to be restricted to emergency vehicles only. Can we put the red dot over that place, over the southernmost section where the emergency, where your proposed restriction would be in place? Who's operating?
Marla, do you want to take the drawing tool at this point?
Who's the presenter? Is it Delilah or Marla? Oh, okay.
There you go. Yeah,
Okay, so that connection to Vale Drive would be emergency access only, and not a road that goes through there.
that's correct.
That's number 2. Okay, number 3, 2 single-family homes are proposed to be relocated from the northeast corner of the property to the west side of Vale Drive. The homes on the west side of Vale Drive are proposed to be changed from a mix of single-family homes and duplexes to all duplexes. So are we increasing the number of units here? Where are these units? 2 single-family homes are proposed to be relocated from the northeast corner of the property to the west side.
That's correct.
Okay.
So there were 2 homes in the circle, in the yellow circle.
Got it.
that
Yep.
ran up wrong road. And then on the western side, which is where there's a line through the duplexes, there were 2 single units, basically half of a duplex unit. And what we did is added the second half of the duplex unit to that side.
Right. Okay.
So I'm on the phone now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we've got you, Lynn.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, and then item number 4, which is the shared use path, is proposed to be relocated from the eastern project boundary to within the Vale Drive right of way, replacing the 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk. Okay, so the old shared use path was where? Or the shared use path on the approved plan was right there. Okay, right along. Okay.
That's correct.
And it'll be relocated from the eastern side. We're just moving it from one side of the road to the other, or are we moving it?
It's basically moving in front of the, what we call carriage homes, the home sites number 1 through 10. It moves it along the side of Vale Drive.
Okay, so we're not going to the back of the property.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And number 5, a no-cut covenant is proposed for the existing mature trees along the eastern project boundaries. No-cut covenant. Where are these exist? Okay, these are the existing trees. So none of those are coming down. Now, you weren't planning on taking them down, were you, in the previous plan?
There's some that were going to need to be removed because of the bike path location
I see.
and along that area.
I see. So because of the bike path is not going to be there, you don't need to cut any trees, and you've agreed, it sounds like, to not do that under the terms here. Okay, number 6, the approved easement for the water main and shared use path across the UVM property is supposed to be adjusted from the eastern property boundary towards the west. Where is this here?
That's
Okay.
where in between the highlighted lines there, there was planned a water line, and the city has approached us about not installing that in that location because they would like to improve the water system for the general area by doing some other engineering through some other construction on their main line off of Dorset Street.
Right. Okay.
So Liam, do you want to take over from here?
Sure. So thank you. I apologize. The camera and microphone worked yesterday when it was used, and it's always that way, right, with technology. So to give you some background, while the appeal on the permit from the city was resolved in the environmental court and in the Supreme Court, there was a separate appeal of the Act 250 permit by the neighboring properties, focusing on a couple of issues which what we are trying to address here, and that were issues relating to preservation of prime agricultural soils, scenic and natural beauty and aesthetics, and traffic. And the 3 issues we're trying to resolve and that we've come to an agreement with that we think will improve the project and make it better for everyone are what Chris has just outlined. But let me tell you the reasoning behind them so that you can understand. Marla, is it possible to put up the photographs that I shared with you, or can I share my screen?
Yeah, Delilah runs the the projector, but Delilah, those are in supplemental if you're ready.
Okay, let me just open that then.
It should be, it's the file called MSK public comment.
All right. Got it. And here it comes.
So this is a Google aerial photo of the area we're talking about, and you can see on the bottom of the picture is the turnaround at the Pinnacle at Spear, and on the north side is Swift Street. The project is proposed to be developed in this large field in the middle, and then going down to Spear Street. If you would move to the next photograph. So that I think you may have skipped one. Yeah, there we go. This is sort of a bigger picture of the area, showing Pinnacle at Spear, Swift Street, Spear Street, and the neighborhood to the east. So one of the primary concerns that we've raised in Act 250 is that the land to the that is along Swift Street and east of Spear Street is owned by the University of Vermont and has been used for active agriculture for many years and is continuing in active agriculture. And one of the concerns that we have about the plan as approved, there were two issues that we're proposing some changes to try to hope to preserve that active agriculture. One was that right now the plan projects on the northerly side a connection that goes past those two houses that were that we're proposing to move, and we're proposing not to build that connection now. And the reason for that is, if you look at the plan, if we go back to the development plan itself, I know this is harder in this electronic things to shift back and forth, but if we looked at the original development plan, what you see here is that on this northerly side of the property and on the southerly side of the UVM land, we have two houses and we have this extension of a street. What we're proposing, if you go to the proposed plan, is by eliminating that extension of that proposed street and those two homes, you can see what we have done is create a buffer on the north side of this project that makes it less likely that the UVM lands to the north will automatically be developed. By removing those two houses in the northeast corner and removing the building of the street, what you get now is on the north side quite a buffer of land between the project and the houses and the agriculture. A number of years ago, I was involved in a development in Act 250 just to the south of here. And one of the testimony in that is that it's important to create these buffers, because if not, what happens is homes create pets. They tend to extend their usage. People use that property a lot more, and therefore trying to just create this buffer on the north. So that's why we are proposing the elimination, not the elimination of the houses, the removal of those two single-family houses to join with two houses on the east side. You can see previously now on the west side of Vale Drive, there were 2 single-family homes that now just become 2 duplexes. And we think that that would be the benefit. The second issue that we are trying to deal with is, if you go again, Marla, thanks, go back to the original plan, what you see is the pathway, this recreational path goes along the, right along the fence line. And one of the things that has been studied since the time this was approved is the city itself has undertaken a number of studies of wildlife habitat, wildlife corridors. And one of the things that's been identified is linkages. And one of the primary linkage that has been identified are hedge lines. They provide that combination of wooded space and open space and shelter, traversability by wildlife. And the concern is by having that path back right against the wooded area and in the right along the hedge line, that we're going to bring people, dogs, and activities back adjacent to a very what's been identified as a prime area for forest land protection, and then also this hedge line. Marla, could you go now to the photographs that I sent in? So if we flip through these photographs and go down to the, if you keep going, what we've done is taken, this is that hedge line. This is taken from the north looking south. The tree here is a tree that just as helpful reference as we look in these pictures. But what you can, if you would just keep going through some of these pictures, Marla, that would be helpful. So then this is looking in the other direction. You can see the tree sticking out on the left-hand side there. Next picture. And then this is the picture of the cornfield of UVM looking to Swiss Street. Happened to see that this was taken last weekend by Dan, and you can see the geese in the field using that field. If you could go to the next picture. That's just another picture of the hedge, if you keep going. So what this is looking into the hedge, and you can see that it's a mixture of trees, brush, some pine cover, some overgrowth, and this is the type of forest habitat and edge that really provides a protection for wildlife. If you keep going to the next picture. Another picture of the same thing, again, a different area. So the city recently had Arrowwood Environmental update habitat block assessment and ranking for the city, which they had done a number of years ago, and then they recently updated this. If you go to the next photo. And you can see, I know this is small, but maybe you can look at this, the area that is area right in the middle there where it says Vermont Country Club, where that language is right, yes, 8 is the area of, those are the woods that are just to the east of this property, and just to the east of the property. And then if we go to the next, and you can see the connections here are in the darker areas. And this is what the takeaway from this habitat map was that unfortunately there's only a few blocks of habitat left in South Burlington. And what's really important to support that habitat are the connections that are between those habitats. So one of the reasons to move this path away from the hedge line is to provide for that protection. Now, Marla, if you could go back up right to the beginning, maybe to the third slide, which is a close-up of Pinnacle at Spear. Yes, this one. So one of the objections that, or not objections, one of the issues that the staff has raised is that, yes, if the path is moved in front of the homes, it will be in front of the driveways of the homes, and therefore there are some issues. However, it's already, the pathway to get to this pathway crosses in front of one of the people who are coming from this cross street, which name I can no longer remember, Four Sisters Road maybe? That road, if they're coming down the either of the Pinnacle Drive streets, they are already on the sidewalk or on the street. To then say, well, we're going to have this very short area that we're going to push up against the woods instead of having it go in front of the houses just the same way as the neighborhood, seems very short-sighted in light of this effort to protect the woodlands and the edge of that forest. You can imagine now it's it's obviously a vacant parcel of land. There's not a lot of activity, but if you put the bike path there immediately against that hedge and that woodland, I think it's going to have a very strong effect on that that issue, and that's why we think that the path would be better to move it just in the same way that it crosses Pinnacle to there. The final issue that we've raised, Marla, if you could go up one slide back toward the beginning. No, down one, sorry, that one. So the second issue is the issue of these connections. I talked to you about why we would like not to have the connection on the north side of the property, because it almost, by sticking it in there and then having two houses there, it almost makes the development of the UVM property inevitable. But on the south side, the real concern is if you look at Spear Street and Swift Street, and all of a sudden there is this loop street that comes from Spear Street around and into that circle, it's going to become a major cut through. People are going to cross Four Sisters Road, not go down to Spear Street, but go through Pinnacle Drive and down through the neighborhood. And it is a neighborhood, and the concern is that there's a cut through. Now, we recognize the fire chief's concern about safety and access, and have no problem with it being made as an emergency access. It can be easily done as an emergency access with a gate, a chain, or some mechanized method of breaking it off. But we think that it would be a real destruction of that Pinnacle neighborhood if this became a cut through. So those are the three reasons behind the changes. So the changes are to move those two houses across the street. There was the staff notes are concerned that now we have a number of duplexes and a few single-family houses on the west side, and this would make it all duplexes on the west side. But it makes it, the neighborhood is still integrated. On that same street, you have single-family houses, you have duplexes, and you have triplexes. So we think that that would be fine. We think that the change in the north connection is critical. There's really no reason to force that to be built today, it really encourage then UVM to develop their land. And third, to this connection from the south to eliminate, we'd like that to be an emergency access to eliminate a cut through. And of course, as I've discussed, moving that path away from the hedge, we think is critical to protection of that wildlife area. So those are the reasons behind the three changes that we have. One of the things that staff has brought up is that, you know, this plan has been approved and and it's final, but unlike many plans, this is not a Stowe Club Highlands matter, a matter where we are trying to change a plan upon which has already been a reliance. Nothing has been built at this point. So we think that it's within the commission's authority to allow these three minor changes in order to help make this project a little better than has been approved. Be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Liam. Are there any questions that the Development Review Board has for Liam or for Chris?
Matt, it's John.
Okay.
I have
John.
a really basic question. You know, understanding the rules that we live by and understanding that we deal with the LDRs and the comprehensive plan, the city says that these properties should interconnect or have the ability to interconnect. I think all of what you've said about interconnection, it goes directly against what the city plan is, and I don't see how you get around that.
Well,
Thanks,
you know, we recognize that. I think the issue on the south side is you can have the interconnection for emergency purposes without having it for all traffic. And on the north end, do we really need to, you could provide for a right of way to be there for it to be connected in the future, but to force the developer to actually build a road that connects to a cornfield just seems to be going up beyond what is necessary and required under the ordinance. I understand that leaving a right-of-way open might be something that might be required, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be built.
Well, that's not at all what the point of the LDRs and the comprehensive plan are, the way I read it. It's to interconnect. It's not to leave an emergency egress or an access. It's to interconnect. And you know, honestly, Liam, while I would love to see that farm field stay the way it is, I also would love to see the one that's behind my house stay the way it is, and it's unlikely as well. We're a growing community, and the likelihood is someday, somewhere, this will get changed. And our standard is the standard we have to live with. We don't make these rules. So I'm telling you, I think you've got a problem.
So just to remind everyone, so this is a sketch plan. We won't be taking a vote here, but it's really important that the applicant and the interested parties hear from all the development review boards so they get a sense of how they should proceed should they decide to do a more comprehensive plan. I look at it from a couple different angles. One is we have to make the decision whether or not there's a substantial change in circumstances which would allow an amendment to this permit. And I'm not there yet. I'll tell the applicant and the interested parties, I'm not there yet whether or not it is in fact a substantial change in circumstances which compels you to do this. And if we were, or if it was started from scratch and you built essentially this project and started the approval process and not did a amendment to a permit, but started from the beginning, I would tend to agree with what I said back in 2017 when I was a part of that form of that group of development review board. when I wasn't chair, but that yes, the LDRs, the Planning Commission, adopted language approved by the City Council, which says connect the streets, and we're the ones in charge of enforcing that, whether we like it or not. So that's tend to be where I come from, but I'd like to hear from other board members.
Matt, can I weigh in?
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. In regards to, I guess I'll just tick them off one by one. In regards to the connection, the southern connection to Vale Drive, that's been a part of the project, and it's been pretty much unanimously part of the board's requirement from day one. And I've been on the board since this was the first sketch, when it was 108 units through Eric Farrell. You know, it's always been part of the project. It's always been opposed as part of the project by the neighbors, but the DRB and the LDRs have always, you know, been aligned with that as being an interconnectivity between neighborhoods. To put it as just an emergency vehicle connection, it's the cider mill connection to Golf Course Road. You know, it's the same one. It's been something that's been looked at as a mistake since it was put in, and this would just be another mistake. In regards to the connection between this property and the UVM farm, getting rid of that road connection, you know, as John said, you know, while it might be agricultural now, what it is in the future, we can't control. And if we put in a potential easement but no road, you know, it's something that, you know, right now I don't even think there's an easement being proposed, just getting rid of any kind of connection. And if UVM does develop it down the road, and you'll end up with 3 neighborhoods that are not connected, 3 standalone neighborhoods with a road in and a road out. That's the antithesis to what the comp plan and the LDRs are trying to do. And so, you know, I see your point, but it's just not in what I would call the DRB's purview to look at it as something to protect 2 different properties from being connected. And, you know, moving those 2 single family homes into the row of townhouses, you know, for me, it definitely has a feel of 3 sort of distinct areas, the triplexes, the duplex areas, and then the single family carriage homes. You know, at least when you had the 2 houses in the northern corner, the row of duplexes had a couple single families and they were spread out. Now they're totally bunched in and tight together. It's not, for me, to be honest, a deal breaker. It's something I'd want to, you know, look at a little further and discuss, but it's really the Vale Drive connection that for me I have a problem with it. The path along the eastern side of it, you know, I wasn't even thinking about the issue of a bike path, rec path that's going to be used not just by the residents, but by, you know, public, going along driveways as being an issue. Now that I see it, I have more of an issue with it, but I know that we had discussed the path in pretty detail, and I thought there was some pretty extensive studies done that allowed for some flexibility in sort of meandering that path amongst the trees to either minimize or eliminate the need to cut any down to get it in along the property line. So, you know, I think there was some important rationale behind that. And there's still a pretty hefty buffer between, you know, the houses that are in the properties to the east and that property line. One question I have, and it's a question at this point, I know everything up to now has sort of been just my rambling statement, but the photos you showed showing that hedge line in the field, where is the property line in relation to the edge of the trees? Is it 5 feet in, 10 feet in, 20 feet in?
Yeah, as I understand it, it varies from a few feet to maybe 10 feet at the most in some areas where some of the larger trees stick out.
Yeah, and that was my understanding of it. Like I said, I've been on the board since this was sketch plan, first round, first pass, well before Chris Snyder was involved, you know, when it was Eric Farrell. And the discussion and understanding was that the path was going to be able to sort of meander along that eastern property line without major clearing of trees. So that's something I said. I'm kind of on, where John is coming from is, you have some issues here, with your requests. And also with Matt's statement that, nothing has substantively changed from the original approval to now in terms of the ability to put in what was approved in 2017. So that's sort of my piece on the issues.
Thanks, Mark. Jim, Alyssa, Dawn? Any comments for the applicant or the interested parties?
This is Dawn, I'm feeling a little late for the picnic because I wasn't involved. So I'm really just listening and trying to stay open-minded. And what I've heard people say has been helpful. So that's all I'm going to say for now.
Okay.
I
Alyssa,
also,
Jim?
like Dawn, I wasn't really
I have a couple
involved when
questions.
this. Sorry, I wasn't
Go
really
ahead,
involved
Alyssa.
when it first went through. But it seems pretty clear to me that there hasn't been a substantial change in circumstances, and at least on the issue of the street connectivity, I don't see how the board could approve making a change to that, given what's happened in the past and what the LDRs ask for. And in terms of the recreation path, I'm sort of struggling with the idea that it would be disruptive to the natural habitat and wildlife to have a path close to a hedge line when, there's hiking trails that go through mountains and woods, and that's not disruptive enough to nature to not merit people sort of being around. It just doesn't seem like a reasonable excuse to want to move the path because it would be close to the woods. It's my 2 cents anyway.
Thank you, Alyssa. Jim, I appreciate it, Alyssa. Any comments, Jim?
Yeah, a couple questions, I guess. One about the path, just if there's been any bike ped committee sort of interface yet on that change, just their input or pros and cons from their perspective on having a sort of crossing the driveways versus not crossing the driveways input from them. Is one question. And my second, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I heard from the bike ped committee asking questions, but they did not yet provide me with any statements.
Okay. Thanks, Marla. What was your second one, Jim?
My second is just sort of the cut through issue about the connectivity of the streets, and just being fairly familiar with that area. I'm just wondering if it's a current problem now on Pinnacle Drive, which already has the connection between Nolan Farm Road and Spear Street. And anecdotally, to me, it doesn't look like it's really used as a cut through. So I'm wondering if it would be, if why the feeling would be that Vale Drive connection to Spear Street and Nolan Drive would create sort of cut through traffic. And I could be wrong about Pinnacle Drive, but that's sort of anecdotally, it doesn't look like that's a route to save time for people as a cut through.
And related to that, I certainly appreciate the balancing of the desire for connectivity with safety in neighborhoods, but the city has clearly expressed an interest in maintaining or developing connectivity. So I'm wondering if there are ways of creating physical impediments or disincentives for traffic to quickly use this as a cut through, because we all know we all kind of take the path of least resistance, and if there are speed bumps and other kinds of traffic calming impediments, we're probably not going to use cut throughs like we might otherwise.
Delila, could you show the existing approved plan? So it's the one previous to the colored CAD looking drawing in the packet.
Yeah. This one?
Yep. So in this plan, you can see the approved layout. The roadway, I'm zooming in, it's a 26-foot wide road width. And obviously it's certainly not a straight shot. The other thing I wanted to point out, and I don't know that we're necessarily too fixated on this, but since I have the floor for a second, the UVM parcel to the north or to the left of the page that Liam was referring to, that is SEQNR, which is the same zoning district as the subject properties. So that has the same development potential as the subject properties. And the city has not heard anything from UVM about their intention to sunset that development potential.
Thank you for that update, Marla. Yeah, the cut-through discussion, I recall it when 3-4 years ago when we had it, and it's an interesting discussion, an important discussion, especially for those like myself who live in neighborhoods and often think about that, and have kids and dogs and all that stuff. But the reality is, in my opinion, I think the LDRs are clear, and we're supposed to create connectivity, and that's not just cars and bikes. That's not just walking and bikes. That's cars. And until those change, I don't see my decision changing from what it was in 2017.
Matt, oh, sorry.
Food for thought. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was just going to say, you're right. It is our sort of directive to make and create interconnectivity, but that doesn't mean we want to create interconnectivity throughways that are designed to be cut-throughs. And this is not designed to be a cut-through, and it was purposely thought through, discussed, and designed to actively discourage it. This is not, this is, if you're coming down Nolan Farm, you're not going to turn right onto Vale Drive or Four Sisters, whatever it is, to be able to go to the end of Vale Drive, go onto an 18-foot road down from 26, turn left, bend around, go down, turn left, as opposed to a straight shot down Nolan Farm and then turn right onto Spear and continue heading north. This was active. This is just to connect the two neighborhoods, to create that neighborly interconnectivity, not to create circulation, traffic throughway.
That's right. Yep. Jim, did we cut you off? Did you have anything else? I didn't mean to cut anyone off.
No, not right now. Not right now, though.
Okay. So a couple things. One is I want to acknowledge the receipt of a very well-written email that I believe is in the packet that went to Paul Connor and myself, but I believe it's in the packet so anyone can read it, from Mr. Michael Scollins. And it's,
Dr. Scollins.
Dr. Michael Scollins. Dr. Scollins, my apologies. Very good letter. Very helpful. Appreciate it. I also have some comments in the chat box from Steve Woodward and some others which may or may not be meant for the public. So I will give anyone who wrote in the chat box or anyone that would like to an opportunity to speak about this sketch plan application, this permit amendment. If there's anyone that would like to speak on the record, please say your name and I'll give you an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes, or you're welcome to write in the chat box and Delilah and Marla record all of the comments made there so we can have those in the record. But if you'd like to make a public comment using your phone or on your computer, just say your name. Or enter it in the chat box.
Hi there, this is David Christensen speaking as.
Hey, David. Okay, David, hold on one second. We'll just put you on pause. You're first in the queue. Hold on one second. Is there anyone other than David that would like to speak just to create the order here? Is there anyone else? Okay, hearing none at this time and seeing none at this time. David, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead, David.
sorry. Thank you. I won't need 3 minutes. I have a 2-year-old that's distracted right now, and you know how long that lasts.
Yeah, I do.
I'm actually, we just acquired 26 Vale Drive, which is at kind of the base of that circle. Our big concern, I mean, obviously, yeah, we want the city to grow and there to be connectivity between the neighborhoods. We understand that. But we also have young kids. And one of the reasons that this area is so desirable is it was, end of a cul-de-sac, and, going to a complete through street completely changes that whole dynamic. We definitely would prefer the, emergency vehicles only type path. It's interesting hearing it compared to that area along Golf Course Road. I thought that was actually quite nice, but it's unfortunate to hear that's more considered a mistake in this area. So yeah, we would, as the concerned party, I guess, right at the end of the street, we definitely would prefer less connectivity for safety purposes, but certainly understand that, there's bigger picture things involved.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate your comment. I just read the comments in the chat box. Steve Woodward said there is no rec path on the existing Vale Drive. People ride their bikes and often walk in the street. If you allow cars to cut through between neighborhoods, you are increasing car-bike pedestrian conflict. Chris Boldman writes, yes, does not sound good. Connectivity for cars flies contrary to the DBR view that there shouldn't be parking in the new area being developed by Trader Joe's. I'm going to respond to that comment from Chris. The DRB does not write the policy regarding parking. In fact, all 7 DRB members in unison appealed to the Planning Commission and the City Council to not eliminate minimum parking standards. I ran for City Council, and that was part of my platform. The DRB did not write that ordinance, just to correct the record. Okay. Is there any other public comments? Please indicate it by putting it in the chat box or say your name.
This is Mike Scollins. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead, Michael. You have. I did announce earlier that we read your letter. Thank you very much.
Yes,
and you're welcome to summarize it or add to it.
Very briefly. Matt,
Yep.
Thanks very much for your comments. And I simply wanted to, you obviously have read the letter, and I simply want to ask that everybody on the board do so if they haven't. Obviously, I have a different point of view from several that have been expressed, but I very much thank you for your time and consideration. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Michael. Much appreciated. Is there anyone else at this time? Does the applicant or the interested party have a question for the Development Review Board at this time, or for staff as you ponder this project? Chris, Liam?
I don't have.
Does the board have any? Does
Liam.
the board have any other questions or would like any more information? What we can do is we can continue this if someone has further questions that need to be followed up, whether it's the applicant or we simply, because we don't close, we just simply say goodbye, and your choice to whether you come back at preliminary plat based on the feedback you've received. It's up to you. But if we don't continue this, then we'll either see you at preliminary plat or we won't see you regarding this project. So if there's nothing
Matt,
else.
I don't think there was any discussion. I don't think there was any discussion or requests or anything that, looked like it needed to be brought back to us. So I'm not sure that the need for continuance.
Yeah, I would agree with that. This would be the last call if anyone felt that way. So thanks for that, Mark. I appreciate it. Okay. If there's nothing else, thank you very much. Okay. Next item on the agenda are the minutes, which we've already done. So the final item is other business. Does anyone, the board or staff, have any other business to announce? Okay, then that concludes. Sorry, go ahead, Marla.
Oh, I said none from me.
Okay, none for you. Okay. So that concludes the South Burlington Development Review Board hearing for October 6th. Thank you very much. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.